Hello, I'm Ben Drain, and thanks for joining me for this setup and overview of the new card game Mythopoeia. We will have an in depth look in 1 second, but first I wanted to teach you the game in 10 seconds. Players draft 4 cards to play, pick a tactics card that will resolve at the end of the round, and then play the 4 cards they drafted, one at a time. Players hope to get points in a variety of ways, but a main incentive is the smart selection of pod cards. They have a range of points on them, but also offer clues in 4 flavors that players can get bonus points for collecting sets of and are used to claim a Season 2 rule, also bringing points. About a quarter of them have hooks into the Elder God's hive mind that you either avoid or chase based on how you think the game is going for you. There, easy, although maybe more like 30 seconds. The land of Fairy has been invaded by the Elder Gods, and we have to rally the heroes of the land to eradicate the scourge. I will briefly go over the components, then we'll set up the game for 4 players, demonstrate the flow of a round, and then I'll conclude with some thoughts on what makes this game deep despite its simple rules. Now on to defend the perilous realm. You can play Mythopoeia in real life like we're doing, or virtually on Tabletop Simulator. The only difference between the two is that in real life, you have to provide something to use as miscellaneous victory points, like our bowl of loose change here. And on Tabletop Simulator, that's taken care of. So we're a little pressed for table space, so I'm just going to remove this off camera. But if anything was to say gain 2 victory points, I would gain 2 victory points. Okay, as we set up, we will look at the different types of cards. The first cards we will look at are the tactic cards. These are the cards that represent you and the tactics that you do during the game. There are 6 different decks made up of the same 5 cards. We're going to be this lady because she has a pretty cool hat. And then we're going to set up for 4 players. So some of this might exist kind of off camera. Sorry about that. I kind of have a crazy camera set up here. So we're just going to just know that this is in front of 3 other hypothetical players. The other 2 decks are not in the game, so we're just going to remove them. Next, we have the pod cards. These represent the corruption of the Elder Gods. Throughout the game, you will gain these through various card effects and by taking the hunting tactic. They have a variety of point values on them, mostly positive, but some being more dangerous than they are worth, represented by having negative points. Some also come with the knowledge about the Elder Gods, and you can piece together information about the invasion through 4 different flavors of clues. Collecting sets of clues are worth bonus points at the end of the game and can be used to leverage your political power in the Land of Fairy by gaining a Season 2 Lord over. Since we're pressed for table space, we're going to get rid of the box. And the manual has the set collection scoring ratio. We're just going to set that off to the side. We won't need that right now. Okay, pods. There are red pods and green pods, both with a range of positive and negative points. The difference between the 2 types is that green pods are public information, whereas red pods are private information. Additionally, hunting the spawn of the Elder Gods is dangerous work, and you just might be drawn into its horrific hive mind. In addition to the 4 clue symbols, some pods also come with a hook. If you gain 2 of these, your will is subsumed into the hive mind. In terms of game mechanics, this means that at the end of the game, the scores of all players who are in the hive mind are averaged together to see if they win collectively. There are many effects in the game to redistribute pods, so redrawing the lines of who you suspect might be in or out of the hive mind, depending on their relative score to yours and their actions, that can be a big part of the game. To set up for 4 players, we're going to remove the 2 special hive mind cards that are in every game. These are in the red deck. They are the only ones that have kind of special pictures, so they kind of jump out at you. We're just going to set these aside for now, and then we are going to give this a shuffle, and then we're going to bring in 4 cards for each player. So in a 4-player game, we're going to have then 16 pod cards of the red. Oops. Going to remove the rest. So we got 16 here. It's going to be the same for the green pods. So we got 16 random green pods, 16 random red pods. We're going to add back in the special Hive Mind cards that are in every deck. So we're actually up to 18 now. That's okay. That's how it works. So those are our pods for the game. Next, we have our season cards. There is a season for each player, and the season of Cronia is always in the game. So we're going to always have Cronia, and then, so a 4-player game, 1 for Cronia. We're going to have 3 others. We're just going to give this a quick shuffle. Remove the rest from the game. So we are playing with Cronia, Mabon, Samhain, and Yule. I'm just going to set these aside. Related to the season cards are the rank cards. With these, you remove any card with a player count in excess of the number of players of the game. This might be hard to see on camera, but we see Queen 4+, that's for us in a 4-player game. Baroness 5+, that's out. Duchess 6, that's out. So we have 3 players. In a 4-player game, you're going to have 3 rank cards. These then get placed with descending victory points. So Queen on top of Countess on top of Lady. They will just go over there. So actions, we'll go over that in a moment, but actions gain you pods that are worth a range of negative to positive points, but also might have clues which you can leverage to political power, where you lord over a season, meaning you get a season and a rank. And the quicker you do this, the larger the rank payout. So at the end of the game, you might have become the Queen of Samhain or the Countess of Yule. So now our action cards, this is the bulk of the game. They represent our kinsman and fairy, who we will utilize during the game and are selected through drafting. To set up, we just remove from the game any cards denoted with a player count higher than the amount of players we have. So again, you might not be able to see this on camera, but if it says 5+ or 6+, we're going to get rid of those. Okay. So you're left with 4 cards for every game plus 3. So 4-player game, that's going to be 19 cards. We're almost ready to start. We just have 2 small things to set up here. Throughout the game, players can take swings at each other with the purge action. We'll go through the mechanics of that in just a bit. But for right now, we just need to know that if you are successfully purged by another player, you get a trophy, which is good. And if you are the player who is purged, you get an infection, which is bad. So for now, these just get a quick shuffle to randomize them up. Okay, we are ready to play. To begin the round, if there were any pods left over from the previous round here in the pool that no one had hunted, we would remove them. And then we move to the hunting pool a red card and a green pod for every player. So that will be 4 red. And the red are private information, so they stay face down, and 4 green. These are public information, so they are face up. Ooh, no negatives that are visible. That's going to be an attractive feast for people to come to. Next, we gather together all the action cards we are using. We're going to remove the gold card Titania, as that is in every game round. And then we're going to shuffle the rest and randomly select 3 to remove face down. We won't be drafting them this round. They just kind of stay over here. We're going to re-add Titania and then give the rest the shuffle. Now we're left with 16 cards. We're going to shuffle 4 cards to each players, and then draft the cards that we are going to pick. Okay, to draft the cards, all players secretly and simultaneously select 1 card to gain and then pass the rest. So, first round of drafting is 3 cards to the player to their left. This is probably well-trodden ground for most people. So we're gaining 3 cards from the player from our left. To those, we're going to add the card that we had previously picked, and now we're going to select 2. It does not have to be the card you previously selected. Looking at the new information, looking at the pods that are available, it might inform our decisions. So we're going to select 2 and pass 2. And then we get 2. To these 2, we're going to add the 2 that we had previously selected. Again, previous choices don't matter when now we select 3 and we just pass 1 to our neighbor to the left. And we're going to get a card. Those are the 4 cards that we will play for the round. Everyone has their 4 cards. With those cards in mind, each player now secretly and simultaneously selects 1 of their tactic cards from the available pool and sets it aside face down to be activated later in the round. Note that previously selected tactic cards from earlier rounds are not available unless an effect has returned them to their pool of available tactic cards. So, for example, if we were 3 rounds in, this is the 3rd round, I selected these on the previous 2 rounds, I would only have these to select from. There's mechanics that bring them all back, but know your choices will get more and more limited unless you play those abilities. When everyone has selected their tactic card, we are ready to get started. The player with the gold Titania card plays it, starting the round. That's its only effect, and it goes around everyone playing 1 card from their hand. There are 2 red cards that are reactions. They can be played out of turn according to the first sentence on them. Alternatively, they may be played to the table during your turn for no effect, and in fact must be played that way if you have no other cards to play. When all players are done playing their cards, we move to resolve the tactic cards. Players who still have their tactic cards set aside, meaning they haven't been purged, which we'll go over in a moment. But players who still have their tactic cards set aside reveal them and resolve them in the following order: hunt, then gift, then commune, then investigate, then meditate. Really, the only timing that matters is that hunt happens before gift. The card effects are self-explanatory, except for hunt, which we will cover right now. All players who have selected the tactic hunt or are able to hunt through an action card that they selected take place in the hunt for the Elder God's corruption. The action cards played will determine who begins the hunt, and beginning with that designated player, then proceeding clockwise around the table, all players hunting select a pod to gain. This continues around the table until all pods are gained from the pool. Green pods are kept face up. Red pods may be looked at after being chosen, but are secret to the rest of the table. Pods range from some negative to more positive points and might give clues on the Elder Gods. So set collection of these clues are worth points at the end of the game and also are the requirements to gain seasons to rule. However, hunting pods is dangerous business, and a quarter of them come with hooks to the hive mind. So if you don't manage your pod hunting well, your will might be overwritten by the chittering clamor of an ancient horror. All this might be either good or bad for you based on what you want to accomplish from what you believe your score to be relative to others, meaning that if you feel like you're falling behind, latching your score to that of a player whom you think is in first place by gaining and moving hooks around is another path to victory available to you. It's also worth noting that if only a single player shows up to hunt pods, they will walk away with all of them. This is a high variance payout that is purposely part of the game. As an element that has to be managed by the players, the main way for this to be managed segues into our other unique game mechanic that we'll look at now, that's trying to purge a player. But first, let's just say, so we got three players hunting. Let's just say based on the cards that it began with me, I would just select one to gain, then it would go around. This player did not select hunt, so it would go to this player. They would pick a card to gain. They would pick a card to gain. It would now be up to me to, I think I can do better than that. Ooh. I didn't. And then goes over here. They'll take the bird in the hand. Oops. I'll gain that. And they'll be distributed like this. So for my hunting, I walked away with 3 pods. 1 is known to the whole table. 2 are just known to me. This also gives various symbols that maybe I'll use to try and claim a season at a later point. Okay, purging. There are several cards in the game that allow one player to try and purge another player. When a player makes a purge attempt, they try and guess correctly which tactic card did the targeted player select for the round. So let's say we were 3 rounds in. I had selected the table. I had selected my tactic. This player is trying to purge me. They're trying to guess what this card is. They know not to guess gift or investigation, so that leaves them with 3 possibilities. When they make their guess, if I'm able to show them, well, either from here, if they really mess up, or more likely from here, that it wasn't, let's say they said meditate, I'm able to show meditate, the purge is not successful, nothing happens. If they had guessed hunt in this case, and I can't show it from here, I can't show it from here, it is this, then all these go back, all these tactics go back to my pool. So in future rounds, I can pick from anything. Or rather, the next round, I can pick from anything. But I don't have a tactics to resolve. That's kind of a problem. Also, the successfully purging player gets a trophy that they can look at. It's always good, although it might come with a hook. It's secret to the rest of the table. And I, because I was successfully purged, get an infection. I can look at it. It's always bad. It also can come with a hook. It can also cancel out some of my symbols for end-game scoring, which is a problem. So try and not get purged. Okay, so we're through a round of drafting, selecting our tactics, playing our actions, resolving the tactics. We just finish up with claiming any ranks that might be available. If through, it didn't work out this way, but if through what I had gotten had matched any of these, I could claim, let's say the 2 I got actually matched Mabon. I could claim it, taking the top rank card, and there I would be the Queen of Mabon. Once you have a season, you can't get another one. Same with rank. It just gives you an ability, and you get the payout for the rank. These go until they are distributed. Once the second to last season is given away, whoever doesn't have one then gets Cronia, who doesn't come with a rank. The rank is built in, the Lady of Misrule, worth -2 victory points. So the quicker you're able to kind of get it together, the better the point payout will be. Now, there might be several people who want to do it in a round, and all timing is resolved, beginning with the player who has the Titania card having priority and kind of going around. So in one sense, Titania is kind of a lame card. You start play, but doesn't do much else. But sometimes that timing is quite important. Okay, so I said when the game ends, when all the seasons are distributed, when the second to last person takes their season, the very last person gets Cronia. The game also ends if you run out of pods, in which case you continue, finish up the round, including gaining any seasons. And then You determine the winner. And that is by players summing up any loose victory points, the points from their pods, their infections, their trophies, their rank, their seasons, and add in any bonus points for collected sets of clues on pods and trophies. You can find that the more the better. You can find that ratio on the back of the manual. Players then, in the hive mind, average their scores together, dropping any fractions. You look at the tentative winner placement and then resolve the two special hive mind cards if applicable, Psychic Strike and Hive Queen. If a player is a part of the hive mind, meaning that they have two or more hooks, and they have the Psychic Strike card, if the hive would solely come in second, oust the first player and move the hive into first place. Additionally, if a player is part of the hive mind and they have the Hive Queen card, the hive score is calculated as normal, but if the hive would normally win, the player who has the Hive Queen card wins alone. Otherwise, the player with the most points wins. So the mechanics of Mythopoeia are pretty simple. It's one that I like a lot, but give it a try with either the print and play or the tabletop simulator version. Both are totally free, of course. And then give me your thoughts on how it can be improved. Wherever you are watching this, you can find links to either version along with a survey form so I can keep track of all the feedback. Thanks so much, and happy hunting.